Hey, this is Chuck from Metal Wani. I'm talking to Justin Pearson from Dead Cross. Justin, how you doing, man?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm doing all right. So the new Dead Cross album is coming out on August 4th. Did you and Mike Patton have to have a contest to figure out which label would be releasing it?
Not really. No. It was kind of just before Patton was involved in the band. It was kind of already assumed that 3-1-G would be part of the release somehow, and then when Patton joined, it was just kind of like an understanding or an assumption that Ipecac would be involved. So it wasn't it wasn't really a contest. That's a good question though. That I guess we could have probably made up a pretty funny story saying that, like
yeah, arm wrestling or something. Like you said, when Mike became part of the band, you guys had already recorded pretty much the whole album, I believe. Did you guys end up going back to retouch any of the music after he'd written lyrics?
No, I wish we did. It is really sort of unorthodox way of recording as far as I'm concerned. But it was just kind of done in stages. So like it was written really sort of abruptly and absurdly. Like I think we wrote it in like 12 days, and then recorded it pretty much right away. And the recording process of the music itself was probably like the saving grace, because we were able to utilize Ross Robinson's kind of like perspective on it and sort of fine tune like the things that we sort of ended up initially throwing together, which was supposed to be just for like 3 shows. That's like the whole concept of the band. Okay. So then like for the most part, like some of the material probably shouldn't have ever gone past those 3 shows, but it was just a strange sort of like series of events. And so when Patton ended up joining the band, we had like previously with Gabe, our previous singer, like we had done most of the vocals, like I think more than half, but not the whole album. But he sort of like split and wasn't going to be able to finish it. So Patton got sort of like these, it was a clean slate. He got all the songs instrumentally and then just worked on them. But yeah, it would, in a perfect world, it would have been nice to write with him, or if anything, have like us kind of all go back into the studio and adjust it. But he nailed it.
yeah, for sure. So did you guys get any, like, did you or Dave or Mike Crain get any influence in the lyrics, or did you just turn Patton loose and knowing that he'd tap into the wavelength that you guys were on?
Lombardo obviously worked with Patton, and I haven't worked with him in a band, but I've worked with Ipecac and I've toured with him and stuff. And so we all kind of just already like had faith, and obviously what he would do, there's no question about it. But the sort of it was kind of crazy because he would write all these lyrics and sort of send us these sort of rough demos of this stuff, or like placements of the vocals, and really kind of involve us in it, which I wasn't really expecting. I guess I just kind of assumed, it's not just like some random dude that's trying that. Right. Like, so I assumed like, hey, he's gonna just record them and that's gonna be that, So yeah, it was weird and awesome that he kind of like helped us. Not helped us, but like led us through the whole thing with him as it was being put together and recorded and stuff.
Yeah. So I mean, like Church of the Motherfuckers, was that a concept in your mind when you guys wrote the music and then he came up with those lyrics?
No. I think I don't know if that was like the very last song. There was like a couple songs that the way the album was written was strange, but there was a couple songs that were just kind of like this sort of, which I think is like a good thing, but like, you're in the studio, not the rehearsal studio, the recording studio, and you're running out of time, and you're like, fuck, we need to like, finish this record, and it's sort of like out of frustration. This has happened with me with a different band, Some Girls, like where you're just like kind of mentally, I guess, like, taxed or whatever, and you're just like, and so like, I did, like with Church of the Motherfuckers, there's like this weird bass riff that kind of is the majority of the song, this like engine sound or whatever, and I think I was just like, fuck it, here, just play it, like, and that was like that was like my way to, I don't know, figure out like how to write another song or whatever, and then it turned, and it has a definite different feel, I think, from most of the kind of faster paced stuff, and that was how the music came about. And then I think I'm pretty sure like that was one of the later, like, I don't think Gabe even like tracked his full vocals on it. I think he did some like rough kind of placement stuff, but he was scared. Not scared, but he was like hesitant because it's so spacious and sort of slower, and Gabe had like felt that he wasn't a singer and didn't really know what to do. So there wasn't a lot, I think, there, but I'm pretty sure that he came up with the only lyric that he might have had was like Church of the Motherfuckers. I mean, there was more lyric, but that was the thing that stood out. And so I think there was a couple songs that Patton decided to sort of, give, like, pay, due or credit or how to like what Gabe, was like contributing. And so that line, Church of the Motherfuckers, sort of stayed with the album, or with the song, sorry. But the rest of the stuff, are like the lyric content and like meaning behind the song, all came from Patton.
Cool. Yeah, I really love this album, man. It's so good. And I was working on a review for Metal Wani, and it was difficult for me to try to capture in words like this kind of blissful chaos that it ensues. You've touched on it a little bit, but what was the process like for you, Mike Crain, and Dave Lombardo to actually write the music?
Well, okay, so the band like came together in a really strange way. Ross Robinson was recording this woman, Poppy Jean Crawford, and needed like, she's like this singer songwriter, and he needed a band to sort of transcribe some of her material for like a demo or something. And so randomly he had called me and was like, "Hey, do you want to come up, and record bass on this woman's album or whatever, a few of her songs." And I really love Ross and love working with them, so I was like, yeah, sure. And he's like, cool. By the way, like, Dave Lombardo's the drummer, and I was like, what the fuck? That's all right. That's cool. And like, I had known Dave a bit from touring when the Locust toured with Phantomos, and so I was like, oh, that's cool. And then he was like, do you think your dude Mike from Retox would want to play guitar? And so I was like, yeah, of course. And Mike has this like big stupid Slayer tattoo on his arm and shit, so I kind of knew. I was like, I'll sign him up for him. So the three of us, worked on this girl's demo, or I don't know if it's like a demo. I'm not really sure what ever came out of the session, but we worked on the session with her, and in like in the first couple like days, Lombardo kind of mentioned that his band film sort of stopped playing, and he had these dates that he needed to fill with some sort of like some sort of performance, of a band, and then like the idea of like, let's put this band together and play these 3 shows. And so I was like, dude, that's really soon, man. It's like 2 weeks away, but whatever. I'm like, that's cool. And it was a little harder for me because I lived in San Diego, so I had a bit of a it was just, there was times where I was like, round trip driving to LA for rehearsal was like, I think for 10 hours or something. But, yeah, so it was fine. And then, what was the point of this?
I was getting into like how you guys wrote the music for it. Cause I can hear a Retox kind of theme in there.
Well, I think Mike, his whole idea was like make it simple and thrashy, Mike Crain, and I mean the guy's he's brilliant with his instrument, and there is a bit of that sort of like surf goth kind of like stuff that he does a lot in Retox. But I think he was trying to like differentiate it. But once we got into the studio and we're tracking the stuff, Ross sort of hones in on like what your I guess your talent, your talents are, I guess. And he was like he brought that stuff out of Mike and made the music less like crude and like less one-dimensional. I think he was really pushing to add a layer of stuff on it that would make it sound more melodic. Instead, it was just like, I think Mike was trying to make it sound like I mean like early Metallica or something, like just just kind of like simple riffs with like really fast beats. Early Metallica with like better drumming, obviously.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, and I think Mike knew like, well, we're working with the drummer for Slayer. I mean, it's like pretty legendary. And so, when there were certain beats we were like trying to get, and then so anyhow, once it started coming together, the first the live set that we had, I think was only 7 songs, and so there was 3 that were written in the studio, which I think were the ones that had a little bit of like, they were a little bit more obscure and like sort of grew more musically and weren't just like thrashy fast stuff.
Right.
Or actually, I take that back, because the first song on the album was written after we started recording, like while we were in the studio, and that one's probably the simplest and fastest. But so anyhow, yeah, I'm not really sure. It was just a weird process. Some of it was like very subconscious, like we just kind of started doing stuff, and then it just came out how it came out, which I guess is nice, like to see an organic product. I mean, there was like some sort of structure or like guideline to follow, and then it just shifted from that, and then we found what was like fitting.
Awesome. So I really, it's kind of crazy that album is very intense, and then you get this break when you have Bela Lugosi's Dead by Bauhaus. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like a reprieve from the insanity in there. How did you guys go about picking that song to cover?
It's funny being asked this, because it's like not really that a flattering reason. I mean, we were like running out of time before these first shows, and either Dave or Mike suggested doing a cover, and there was like a lot of obvious suggestions that were like more metal sort of based, and I was not opposed to it, but I was just like, guys, let's do something that people aren't going to expect, and there was a ton of stuff being thrown around, and I just, for the sake of us not being able to play the shows that were like a couple days away, I was like, dude, there's this really rad long Bauhaus song, and it's like 2 riffs or whatever, like really easy. We won't forget it, and because that was the problem. It was like literally the songs had like these really strange like cryptic titles, because like for us to remember what the hell each song was, and right. We had never, like, we'd barely rehearsed with Gabe, so like we weren't really, there was no like real titles, so there was like snare song or like junt song or whatever, and so right. So anyhow, like so Bauhaus, so Bela Lugosi was a suggestion that I made, and it kind of stuck. It gave it like a, I mean, I think the key to doing a cover justice is making it your own, and we really, I think we tried to do that, and I think we pulled it off. So that was the reason why, long and easy to play.
Nice. So your career has revolved around creating music that I feel like kind of defies categorization. I mean, you were in The Locusts, Swing Kids, Head Wound City, Retox. Now you're in Dead Cross. It's all kind of crazy, weird, twisted music. How do you feel it stacks up? How do you feel Dead Cross stacks up to the other stuff you've done before?
It's interesting to like compare and contrast everything, because looking like in retrospect is one thing, but like when you're in the middle of doing it, it's different, because for me it's even with everything I've done, like I remember being in Swing Kids and being starting The Locust and even starting Retox. It was like, it wasn't really thought out necessarily. It was kind of like there was this sort of concept, and then there was like this sort of, you know, I guess like, you know, I don't know, like the universe gave it some reason, you know, and you kind of just like, hey, we're gonna all do this, like, and then it just turns out a certain way. So there wasn't a lot to it, but looking back in retrospect, I think like there's a lot of stuff that I really wish was different, and not that I regret something or whatever, but like, you know, a lot of it was like very naive. Like for instance, Swing Kids. I mean, I would never want to criticize anyone else in the band. I think that all three of those guys were amazing at what they were doing. But it is a little too much like Drive Like Jehu, but I don't know that we really were aware of it at the time that it was happening.
Yeah.
And then like with the vocals, you know, I think all my vocals and even my lyrics were stupid. You're not stupid, but just like, well, the lyrics were kind of not that good, and I didn't really know how to write a proper song lyrically. It was kind of just like I would write like a few lines and just repeat them over and over, and that's not really a singer. And then, you know, I think my voice wasn't that great then. I didn't really understand like delivery, and so, you know, I mean, looking back at something like that, I would love to change it. And same with Locust stuff too, especially the vocals. I mean, I feel like a lot of my vocal contributions and lyrics to the early Locust stuff was just not that great, and it could have been better. But I, you know, it was a transition, and I think even in the Locust stuff, like just writing random weird shit that was more metaphorical was a transition. It was like I needed to do that. So, you know, it's just weird to compare it. So, but as far as like, you know, the musicianship and stuff, I mean, it is what it is. It's just different musicians, and it's, you know, it's like. I mean, I'm really grateful for, I think, always being able to have played with amazing drummers. I think that's like this. I mean, that's what made me who I am as a you know, a musician or whatever. So it's just, you know, you can't really like compare. That's like Jose Palafox to Dave Lombardo, because it's completely different styles, you know. And then it is, you know, even like drumming is such a huge focal point for everything that I do musically, and it's a trip because, you know, even having Gabe singing in Dead Cross was a strange thing to be in a band, two really awesome drummers, and it was always like kind of this. It was always kind of like on everybody's minds, like, you know, Dave is always, well, there's this, you know, amazing singer that's or the singer that's an amazing drummer, and then, you know, like, you know, it is just like a weird thing, but but it's that comment, like, you know, you're only good as your drummer, and so I've always kind of just been like lucky that I've like, fuck, the rest of us could kind of suck, and, you know, we're gonna be right.
Yeah, you've got this killer drummer, so fuck it.
Yeah. It's true though. I mean, if you know, like if. I don't want to use anyone in specific, but there's a drummer that I really think is amazing, and he's in a lot of bands, and some of his bands are not necessarily bands that I would listen to or dig. And when I will go listen and watch them play because he's in the band, and it's fucking awesome. Yeah. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like easy as that, I guess.
Yeah, that's awesome. So Dead Cross is hitting the road on I think August 10th, about a week after the album comes out. Who are you guys going to take on the road with you?
The majority of the tour is with Secret Chiefs 3.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so that was sort of like the connection, the Patton connection, which is rad. I've actually never seen them live. I'm really excited to, you know, I don't know, it's nice to be able to every night see something that you're excited about.
Yeah. I'd lobbied you guys on Facebook to have Child Bite play, but that didn't work out.
Yeah, I know. Well, the thing is about that is like, Patton is really adamant about a one band opener, and it's I somehow I guess like Child Bite is on the Ipecac radar or something, and so I was like, hey, maybe this will work out, but again, they're just like, yeah, we just would prefer one band to be the opener, and so that was it. I mean, it's crazy because I literally, like, every band that I'm friends with hit me up about playing, and then there's just bands that I, you know, I don't know. It's pretty funny, like how social media is like worked out, because it's one thing when someone's like, hey, you should have Child Bite play, and we're, and like, Child Bite's played with Retox and stuff, and I'm like, fuck yeah, that's rad. Or it's like, you look on Facebook and there's like 30 messages from like these just, I no offense to people, but like, I'm like, dude, this fucking band is not, they're like, we should be opening for you guys, we played like every, I don't know, like whatever, like it's weird, like I it's just, I mean, I'm like, I don't really like want to deal with this or something, but yes, Child Bite would have been sick. It's crazy, like, yeah, I mean, in a perfect world, I'm always like scheming to like, let's have like this bill be just so ripping and amazing, but it's just, for whatever reason, it's a one band opening thing, I guess.
Well, it'll still be awesome. It'll still be good. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in Detroit.
Cool.
So I got just one more question for you. So beyond this album and the upcoming tour, do you think Dead Cross will keep doing things, or is it just kind of one and done?
I don't think it's one and done. I'm not really sure exactly what we're gonna do, but I know that we are writing new music, new material for the live set, because the album is long. So we're working on new songs. So I'm assuming those will get documented in some way at some point. But yeah, I'm not sure. Like, everybody's schedules are kind of crazy. But I'm pretty sure something will come of it. After this tour, I think we'll do something. I just don't know exactly what and to what extent, and also when.
Cool. All right. Well, Justin, I really appreciate talking to you, man.
Cool. Thank you so much.
All right, man. Take it easy.
All right. Take care.
Bye.